Buttons doing things.
Yeah.
Stuff and things.
All right, I think it's working now. I think it's working.
I couldn't tell you.
What's up, everybody? Back again, Warp Charge Gaming. I think we're on the internet. We had a little bit of a rough start there, episode 54.
Dude, we are on the internet.
Yeah.
It's Chris's face. It's a bunch of Chris's. Now it's George's.
Nice. I got James. It's me, James, and Chris doing the usual live talk show every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about everything going on with Warp Charge Gaming, 40K, Age of Sigmar, all kinds of tabletop games, stuff and things, tournaments, ITC, the usual. Tyranids, a lot of Tyranids, a lot of chaos. We talk about bugs and chaos a lot on this this channel.
We do what we know, man. We do what we know.
Dude, I don't know much anymore, man.
Yeah, James just locked away in his dungeon there, creating all kinds of things. Yeah,
dude, I'm starting to pile up shit around me, just piling shit around me as I just keep creating and have yet to reorganize. It's pretty intense.
It's a good thing that we actually took a bunch of that stuff off your plate there when Chris and I came up for Adepticon.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, dude, I'd be buried, bro. I'd be buried.
Yeah, man, I'm starting to get buried myself, as even Chris is at his spot. Wait till he gets load number 2 here. I've been doing a ton of printing for Mike's Necron board, and I got this huge pyramid now. I got these towers and these big gates and everything. It's starting to take up a lot of space. Oh man, but yeah, man, it's gonna be good. So, I just opened up Cura. I'm sure people can see that. Never mind that. We're not about to 3D print something live. We're live on air.
Whoa, what are you doing, bro?
I'm opening up Cura. I don't know why.
You settle down, bro. This is not a Monday.
Yeah, we haven't done a 3D printing episode in quite a while, but what's been going down is just a ton of tournaments and playing games. I'm trying to pull up the details here. I've ruined everything, my friends.
The deets. Pull up the deets.
Man, I can work the computer. Here we go. Check this out.
We believe in you, sir.
I got it. I'm hitting the buttons. It's working. All right, so what's been going down is this past weekend we had our 4th tournament in our tournament league, the Battle in the Warp Tournament League. And on May 4th, we had the 4th one, and it was a doubles tournament. It was a ton of fun. Had a great crowd. About 40 people came out once again, and we played an awesome event. I thought that I was going to see Custodes and Tau take it home. It turned out that Double Chaos by the Wobbly Modelers, running some of that new stuff in the Vigilus books and the new Space Marine action, and they took it home in the very end. I think I'm about to post the final top table tournament. You guys can catch us live on Twitch if you ever want to see it in real time and be a part of the conversation. Getting excited for this upcoming weekend, just a couple days away. We're going to be doing a Kill Team Commander tournament as we do each month. That's our 2nd league. We're doing a 40K league and a Kill Team league. Super excited. We got Dark Bunny Creative giving a $200 commission voucher to the winner of both leagues. So really stoked to be able to do that with our friends at Dark Bunny. This is all leading up to yet another event. I had it here. Age of Sigmar is coming up May 25th. About to do that as well. This tournaments after tournaments, and we get really hyped for the Battle in the Warp. That is the major tournament going down in July. That's going to kick off season 2. Just posted today the final finale of the season 1 Battle in the Warp Tournament League coming up in June 1st. And then we're going to kick off the 2nd season going in through the winter with our first major event. 64 people, 2 days, partnered with Table Top Wargaming Cats out of the North.
That's going to be so cool.
So cool, man. Just got the poker chips or the objective markers. Everybody that comes to the Battle of the Warp is going to get a set of objective markers. And I love the custom design that James put together. We got the Battlegrounds bullseye logo there. the sweet font for the event placed on one side, and then the custom merging of Warp Charge Gaming and Coastal Wargaming on that cool bolter and skull crossbones there. So loving these objective markers. Can't wait to see them come to fruition, and really excited about all the events we got going on. And just speaking of that, just a little bit of the news, something that I'm about to put out very soon is I just produced a video for Best Coast Pairing on the Event Suite. We called this video the best competitive gaming tool, the Event Suite. And it's really what's allowed us to do the tournament leagues that we've been doing now for the last 5 months has been due to the Event Suite app, allowing us to create our own ranking system pretty much flawlessly and seamlessly by using this awesome app developed by Best Coast Pairing, letting us have kind of a localized ranking system independent from the ITC, while also still working with the ITC at the same time.
Dude, so I have to add something here, since I was like looking into this, since you brought this all up to me, since I'm not the one using the app. But for a game store owner, like, this is an amazing app. Especially because like it's not just 40K. Like, BCP has so many other games, and like I was seeing that for $50 a month, you basically can set up all your different gaming systems and all your tournaments and host them all right there. Like, dude, that's huge.
Man, when you talk about the lines that go down and just having like a frontline employee, like being a tournament organizer, there's a certain like ebb and flow to it that I don't know if a lot of game stores actually like have any sort of training methodology or kind of assign a person to run those events. And there's a whole ebb and flow to it, and you can expedite your process so much and alleviate stress, and also be better prepared for what's coming your way through pre-registration and being able to have an organized approach with who are the people that are running your event, especially when you want to like kind of honor the people in your community with being an event organizer, kind of give them that title and the perks that come with it, and being able to like assign them that role with inside the app and have that kind of organization system where everybody can see what's going on. It's super cool, man.
Dude, so like most tournaments I know of, it's normally volunteers in the community. It's not like the store.
Sure.
Or like if the like person that volunteered like let the store know like, hey, you can do this for every one of your events, and like make it so that you can be found. Like it posts your stuff so like other people in other areas can find you. Like, I know that's how you get a lot of people that travel to Richmond is through that app. And like, that's amazing advertising for only $50 a month for a store. And not only just the advertising alone, you get a tool that helps organize you. So all you have to do is tell your TO that's volunteering to organize that RTT or whatever, hey, this is the setup. Here's the login information, and you're good to go.
Yeah, man.
Strong agree.
It's powerful. Best Coast Pairing, they get over like 20,000 hits a day on their site, and they support over 44 game systems.
Dude, they keep coming out with systems like this. It's just going to continually grow, making these things worth even more.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but they just posted. I wish I had the screenshot, but they just posted the new functionality they added to Best Coast, where you can you can now fine tune the way that your event particularly pairs people. So you can choose to go by Swiss, you can choose to go by win-loss or something. They had like this whole list of criteria that you can turn on and off to how people are paired up. So it's pretty cool. Not to mention they just added team functionality. That's another thing. We're getting ready to produce a video for Best Coast on the way that the ATC ETC format. Like at ATC, they have 5-man teams where they have a captain, and then they have 4 people that are actually playing, and the captain's like putting those different teammates together on who's fighting who kind of deal.
Yep.
And now they've added to the player app where the captains will be able to register their team all within inside, instead of like nowadays register.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. So like instead of like nowadays, like you have to just be your team is just one person, but now you'll be able to see everyone as a bracket, and you can actually the captain can assign people to who they're supposed to be playing. It's pretty cool.
Get hyped.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Really, really sick. And then they're getting ready to, they've only added ATC so far style, but they're getting ready to put doubles in there. And tournament organizers across the globe will rejoice when doubles tournaments are implemented in there. it's already gotten extremely easier to, like, just over the last month, to actually upload your submission of your event scores, because they came up with a manual uploader that all tournament organizers have access to now. And it used to be you had to email in your results and wait till they actually posted it and like made sure they got your email. And shit.
Yeah.
Now it's just instantaneous. You can post your results directly to the ITC website by just uploading it manually. It's awesome.
Dude, and Frankie hooked it up when I let him know about the corn faction. So like immediately, I mean, I sent him an email, and I want to say like 15 minutes later, he already had the corn faction fixed, and now there's actually rankings.
Oh, excellent.
Super cool.
Yeah, we were just talking about that last week. Yeah, I find all this stuff really cool. I mean, like, people, it's interesting because, you know, we kind of get in our own little heads about how, you know, we're constantly talking about these kind of workings, the mechanics that are going on in the tournament circuit scene. And the large majority of folks that play tabletop wargaming, 40K, Age of Sigmar, whatever, they don't necessarily think about these things. You know, I think that we kind of are flag bearers or torch wavers of kind of the value of and the fun that comes with competitive gaming.
Dude, for me, it's like the epitome. It's like instead of being an older man and like having the day at the golfing range or whatever, or going golfing and shit, like I can get on 3 games at a tournament.
Yeah,
That's basically my like recreation. Instead of getting home games or like club games, like they're fun. Everyone enjoys a good home game. But the thing is, the epitome of the hobby is like seeing the best armies, seeing like what people put out, like real hobby effort, and flex those muscles. Because you can see some people are there just to flex their hobby muscles, and other people are there to like flex their like know-how of their codex. So like you get to see the top of like everyone's love of the hobby, and it makes you meet new people. And honestly, as you get older, like one thing I've heard about is like for men, when they starting to get into their later 30s and 40s, people start having heart attacks and heart disease. So like as they start to get into their 40s and 50s, they become very lonely because like men culture. Well, the thing is, you never really go out and meet new friends when you have that men culture. But when you're gaming, you're always meeting new people, regardless. And like sometimes you just like click on having an awesome game, and you start up a casual conversation, and like you create really good friendships. And like those are all for me created at tournaments. So like having an app that now lists all these different tournaments, because it makes everything at the tournament easier. It allows you to like travel and find people, and it's pretty dope.
You know, you got me last night. I was watching The Matrix, and and Neo like goes to like meet the Oracle, and there's this there's like the Asian dude who's like this badass ninja guy. He was like, he protects the Oracle, and he like when he meets Neo, he's like tries to fuck him up. He's like, we gotta fight, and he was just testing to make sure Neo was all that he was cracked up to be. He's like, you don't really get to know somebody, you know, when you fight them. So it's kind of the same thing. We're basically like in the Matrix, like fighting that Asian dude. Like whenever we go meet people at tournaments. So yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's interesting because I've heard other mediums recently mentioned for tournaments and stuff like that. A lot of experiences I think people have with bad games and bad opponents are often almost them getting to know each other. Like, I don't know, we all don't click the same, and like getting to roll dice with people definitely forces you to interact with someone, and like warming up to people. I think, you know, not everyone has the same sense of humor, whatever, but it's a cool way that we get to actually meet new people that, you know, share a passion over something.
Dude, a huge passion, because it's a dollar sink like no other.
Oh yeah, exactly. The people that claw their ways into this hole are like committed.
Dude, it's like car people. Like you just get committed because of the
it's the same thing.
Financial investment you put into nothing but your emotions.
What are you gonna do? Do something else?
Fair.
But I mean, I think it's a great time to be 40King right now, and like kind of like what James was saying, I actually know I need to push myself to get out to more tournaments and stuff, because like it's kind of the same thing with like Adepticon and Nova level events. Like you expose yourself to like these peaks in the hobby that you don't get to like engage with otherwise. Like you're not going to be a better player if you're not playing better opponents. You're not going to be a better hobbyist if you're not exploring new techniques. You're not going to get to see all the cool shit if you don't go looking for it. Like,
dude, all for it, man. And that's why I'm really enjoying this new restrictive building that I've been putting on myself by going pure corn. Is like, you get to flex those hobby muscles. And like, if there was no tournament circuit, I wouldn't be doing that. I would just be beating up on Matt while he's getting drunk every single weekend or every other weekend, you know? Like, and that wouldn't be fun anymore.
Man.
He would end up selling his army, and that'd be it. So without tournaments, we have a friendship. Or with tournaments, we have a friendship.
It adds value for sure, and I hope that when people see us talking with passion about the ITC and throwing events and things like that, that it's not just about say winning and losing, but just about the culture that goes along with it, and that it's good to promote versus shame on, especially if because there are some folks that have a stigma against competitive play, tournament play, and I definitely want people to lighten up about that. And
definitely
be warmed up and welcomed, especially the events that we throw.
Well, and I think, and it's just kind of like, as you said, a stigma. There's this association that you can't have.
Sorry,
you're good. You can't have a good time playing at competitive events if you're a fluffy player. Now, you don't want to walk into your own slaughter, but like I feel like I've, even at our events, seen players that are Battlegrounds locals that I would have considered fluffier players come and play and actually do moderately well, because you have in these isolated metas, lists that aren't typical to the meta can be kind of a curveball.
Definitely. I play that game, and like, it's funny, like the more competitive I got, the more fluffy I got because I got more restrictive.
Yep.
I think versus like my favorite thing is like seeing when a game is like beautiful because it plays out like a dance between the opponents, and when they give a give and take and try to find the crack in the armor to pierce through, and there's that kind of that epic confrontation. I love it when a game like looks extremely thematic, and it looks like things that you would think would happen in the narrative like naturally play itself out in the game.
Super great.
I love those kind of moments, and I think what can be appreciated when you're kind of not as competitive is that even with an army that is not top meta, there is still foundations to the game and understanding your opponent that makes a player better than another, and from having more experience. And it's, dude, like I remember playing racquetball.
Did we just lose George?
I think we did just lose George. Yep, Warp Charge has left the meeting.
Wow. So can they hear us right now?
I am seeing us live currently still. I've got us up on the YouTubes.
I got us up on the YouTubes. Can they hear us right now? Dude, they can totally hear us right now. How is this happening, George? This is absolute sorcery.
We're having a lapse in the system code over here.
I don't care. This is sorcery. I'm going with it. George is the one hosting us, but he dropped out of the call. So I don't get how this works, but I'm going with it, bro.
All right, so we're not talking about kill teams or Age of Sigmar right now.
No, dude, this is why we get. Dude, this is our time to shine, bro. 40K. So how was your game? You played 40K today, bro.
I played 2 games of 40K. I played 2 games.
You knew Yanari, dude. The nerf of the nerf. You had to have won.
Dude, I lost both games pretty badly. It just didn't go good, man. I made some mistakes for sure. I played against Connor's army, I think, very wrong. I think I made some big mistakes in how I approached his army. I mean, buffed up Guardians are still good. Eldar are still good. And he still did a lot of his same tricks. And I kind of, knowing that he was the more close combat dominant army, got a little too forward frenzy, and I would swing in big. I killed a lot, but then his reserves came in big and kind of did the same to me, and he ended up having more on the table at the end of game 1. To be fair, I used my standard ITC list for the Nova missions on mission 1, but that didn't play out to be a huge difference. I scored 22 points, I think, to his 28 that game.
Okay.
And
Close
then game 2, that was not going to be, I think, as close of a game. But I started off game turn 1. I took first turn. I had my Hive Guard do their crazy shooting, nuked a lot of his mortars. It was really good. I moved up. That list was definitely more structured for Nova missions, so I don't have that as an excuse. But I had blobs of Gene Stealers move up the middle. I tried not to get too forwardly aggressive with them, but they were still a little too far forwards. And the Guardians started getting into them, double shooting, or not double shooting, but shooting with some degree of psychic buff. And turn 3 or 4, I had a horrendous roll with dice, but at that point, Connor had already flipped the table a little bit in terms of who was on the dominant foot. So I really can't blame rolls on that either. Hey, I think we have George back, do we?
Woo!
Welcome back, George.
Sorcery, bro. Sorcery.
I have multiple computers and my battery died, and I was like clicking I could see you guys laughing. I'm clicking all the pictures. But
wait, how did the battery die when we stayed hosted?
Because I have I have the desktop going, I have the laptop capturing.
You're hosting on another computer.
Yeah.
I got you.
It was silly. I said back in the day at racquetball and old people. Did you guys take it?
What up, Taldark?
How are we doing?
Yeah, we've been doing stuff. We're discussing my games where Connor trounced me.
It sounds to me like you just made up a bunch of excuses, but you just shit the bed as a general.
I did. Honestly, I can only Connor played it well. I approached his army wrong, and Connor's on a bit of a winning streak against me. I've got to crack him now.
Dude, he's got the biggest nerf that he's ever going to face in 40K for him. Ever.
It's definitely...
Chris, he doesn't have Soulbird, dude. He gets to just fight first.
I'm confused as well.
That actually came up, oddly enough.
You just crunked. Didn't you crunk Hagen? I got some pictures of your game that you just played on stream. Mortarion. Yes. You got some epic pictures right here. Mortarion standing up to all these Gene Stealers. And then this lone Death Shroud Terminator standing up to these Flyrants.
So that actually is the same list I ran game 2. It's 40 Gene Stealers that are cracking. There is a close combat walking tyrant, 2 flying hive tyrants that are Chronos. It's a really anti-psyker army, especially. So it tends to do really well against Eldar and Chaos. But my game against Hagen, he had a mostly close combat force as well. He moved up. I did better about keeping my distance from him, I feel like. And just in the time that Mortarion was crossing the board, you can see him there. At the end of turn 1, I think Mortarion had 5 wounds left because my Hive Guard just lit him up.
So how'd you crunk Hagen's chaos shenanigans, but then Connor danced around and got you with his Eldar trickery?
After the nerf.
Well,
what happened?
Eldar are definitely his character support. He had, I think, 2 autarchs that are one of the few Yannari things he had, because he had mostly just Eldar, and actually some Dark Eldar as well. So it was all 3, but there was only 1 actual Yannari detachment, and it was, I think, just the Cat Lady and 2 autarchs. I think it was Supreme Command. The characters came in and they swung real punchy. At one point, this is one mistake he made. He did one of his autarchs swinging at strength 8. Instead, it was strength 6. So that made a difference in killing a Hive Tyrant. But at that point...
Disqualified.
At that point, honestly, he was already winning. I can't give him that as, that's why he lost, or why I lost. But there was a lot of fast stuff, a lot of invulns, the multi-damage. The Witches, man. The Witches, both games consistently just shredded my backfield. They are very fast. They come in late generally and are happy to come in late. They're pretty good at making charges, even though Connor's really bad at rolling successful charges. He had two 15-man blobs, and just with the reroll for hits and stuff like that he was stacking some buffs from Power from Pain as well. They just started carving up all my MSU because most of my lists had been extremely MSU in terms of my scoring, and it was effective. He got into my Hive Guard with those eventually, both games, and that locked down my shooting. And I definitely should have castled. I should have played more KG. And sorry, I gotta plug in my platform over here. But friggin', it was a good game all in all. But I mean, he definitely walked away with it and deserved it. I want a rematch soon because I think I can take the same list I lost with the second game, which is also the same list I played Hagen with. That's currently, I think, the Cult Tyranids list I'm trying to kind of make work. If I can't make that work, I'm kind of trying to bang out my 2K for the major. And if I can't get the Cult list where I like, I'm going to run a version of my traditional 2,000-point Tyrannifex, I think. Because that's even better, since I've barely played that since they reduced the points in Chapter Approved for Tyrannifexes. Because that's when Genestealer Cult came out. But, I don't know. I want to do better with the cult characters. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot of insane tricks you can do with them. It's almost like playing Hero Hammer in some cases. But,
yeah. Speaking of Hero Hammer and reserves, you got me thinking about the new Elite, Kill Team Elite. I know you checked out a little bit of that. They've, over the last few days,
cool.
On the community page, they've shown off the Imperium, Chaos, and Xenos now, as far as some previews to the tactics and different models that we'll be able to take. And basically, it looks like some main event aspects that I've been digesting is that we're going to have Legion traits now, and they're going to bring in reinforcements. They've declared 200-point matches, and they've shown that there's the Legion traits and things will be on the free, could potentially just be how you build your army. And while there's still a lot of new tactics that'll be employed as well.
Ooh, I have a question, George, because I don't know if you saw this at all with any of your factions represented. I didn't check. But for Genestealer Cult, the Keller Morph is an elite choice, even though he's also a commander choice.
Yeah, that's what I just through reading briefly through some of the previews, I was seeing that they said some of the elite characters were going to be commander options, and that got my head spinning in a whole new direction as far as this being a kind of a gluing factor for commander in with traditional kill team. I think elites and commanders are going to live together, and that they're in that where commander felt like an expansion that was kind of a choice way to play, that we're about to get kind of the grand picture of what is the game of kill team. We haven't had this Slaanesh keyword the entire time, and even when they dropped commander, when they dropped rogue trader, we barely got the demon keyword. We didn't get the Slaanesh keyword. Now they're giving us Emperor's Children and Slaanesh straight up. Fighting first in the Hammer of Wrath phase, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we're about to see the grand vision of what was Kill Team in its infancy, and what they've been strategically waiting to show us this entire time. And it seems like now, if you take all the rules that they seem to be implementing with Elite and cascade that over to Commander, that there's going to be a lot of new functionality by using Legion traits and new tactics with other models you've already been considering. I think it's going to revamp the whole mode of play, where you've looked at your old kill teams and now look at them with the new rule set. And then I also think that we're going to be changing the way our tournament play is, where they're going to be now. You may have a command roster that supports commanders, that supports elites, and will have to be prepared when hitting the table. And you may play any version of these, where you play against commander.
Yeah.
Maybe you're playing arena, maybe you're not. They're talking about ANOVA being like a half and half split of arena and not arena. So you could end up at an arena table or not. So I think we're starting to see kind of how much variety is going to exist within a kill team overall, and we've been playing just little snippets in compartmentalized versions of the game so far.
Well, and I mean, additionally, we have a question asking if the traits will only be narrative. I personally don't think so, but I think when you look at the sideboard element of kill team, and this is something you touched on with Arena, I mean, that means in a tournament you could take a drastically different strategy because of what commanders and presumably elites bring to the table in a given command roster. I mean, you have entire people build their armies around the strategic discipline, whatever it is that reduces the cost of abilities.
Yeah, strategic.
Yeah, and I mean you could build a strategist list and easily sideboard that out to turn your list into something totally different. At this point.
Yeah.
Dude, all this sounds to me like GW is selling you on playing 40K because they know it's the better game. Think about it. They start you off with a troop choice, and then they go, oh, now you need an HQ. Nope, now you need your elites. Let me guess, next expansion is gonna be fast attack, bro.
Well, it's still skirmish play. It's still 200 points, and I think that you make a good point there, James. That it's not. I don't think one is meant to be better than the other. They're meant to be standalone in their own right. And it's just like with I've been learning about FFG games lately, Field of Fire Gaming. No, forget the name. Fantasy Flight games, Armada and X-Wing. Like Armada is the large-scale fleet-based combat, and X-Wing is the squadron-based dogfights. And I think there's a lot of game systems that have that small-scale, large-scale battle escape.
Oh, I know it does that. I'm just saying, like, if you're brand new into GW and then you start off with Kill Team, they are making you collect a 40K army.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's genius. And then you have your Kill Team fans that are like, no, man, this is just the dynamic of the game, and this is how they originally saw it. Yeah, they originally saw it as a way for you to buy 40K because that's the real money sink, and that's the better game.
Well, better game. I agree with everything until you say better game. And then I'm like, whoa, James, you just calm your horses there, bro.
No, I don't want to calm down. I want a better game. So now I'm playing APOC competitively.
I'm excited for getting the APOC.
Dude,
that would be cool.
When does that come out again?
We have no idea. I mean, hell, Kill Team Elites. They're just like, and here's Kill Team Elites. We'll see you next week, folks.
Yeah, dude, I'm cool with Kill Team Elites because it does it wants me to flex my hobby muscles. Like, I'm going to do super custom, like super unique character level berserkers, and that's gonna be my kill team, and maybe a couple cultists just for that sideboard flex.
Oh yeah, berserkers are gonna be really cool in kill team.
Hey, why do I not have noise marines as an option?
I don't know, James.
I don't know.
Are they racist? Because they have all the other cult elites.
You just calm down, James.
No, I think GW is racist against or transgender. Yeah. They're transgender. Not transgender. What is it? Like transphobic. That's the word I'm looking for. Transphobic.
Oh, just stop, James. It's fine.
I don't want to. That's all I'm hearing when GW does not put noise marines in their elites.
You know what? Yes. Transphobic.
I'm still mad that they didn't give Tyranids the zone throat. Because I'm like, I wanted a Psyker in kill team.
I saw Grey Knights are going to get to do 2 powers a turn now. Ooh,
that's cool. Yeah, I definitely like all the options I saw for Tyranids though so far. Hive Guard are coming, which seems kind of crazy because they even leaked the profile on their gun, and it's like, yeah, still 36 inches, even though the board's only 2 feet long.
Yeah, it's kind of loud and crazy.
You're like, oh, so I can always shoot you.
That's awesome, bro.
Did anyone see in the table of contents if assassins were in there? I really want assassins to be in that game.
I didn't see those, but speaking of
assassin for sale.
Oh, I know you do. I was actually going to show it off. Here, check it out. Blam! James's new assassin. James, this thing is amazing. Tell us about it.
dude, what is there to tell, bro? Like, you see it right there. It's right there.
I think we talked about it a little bit on last week's episode. We didn't have a close up.
All right, so shout out to Grognard Games in Roselle, Illinois. They're doing on a clam pack painting competition. So you buy a clam pack, you enter it into the competition. Basically, you have until the 31st at the end of this month to submit your entry. You can have multiple entries as long as you keep buying clam packs from them. I just bought the one because assassins are hot right now, and I figured I could push this afterwards. But George, with his Kill Team Love, sent me the Rogue Trader box set that had these mini drop pods. And as soon as I saw it, I wanted to do this. So I'm glad I finally got around to doing it. But the Evisaur, it normally is like traveling giant spaceship in cryo, like in these drop pods, waiting for like orders. And they just get sent down to a planet in the drop pod, and they pop out and merc stuff. So instead of having that normal dumb base, I drop pod based it.
Yeah.
Drop pod base.
Super cool.
I love it. It's amazing. As soon as this painting competition's over, James is going to put it on eBay, sadly. So if anybody wants it out there.
As George hates this about me, I have no emotional attachments to my models. It's just time equivalent. So for me, it's going to eBay unless someone calls dibs. I'm probably going to post it for $200, but take $150. So if you want dibs, dib it.
Yeah, no, it's badass. Tau Dark just said you literally modeled the summoning of assassins. Yeah, I love it. It really brings to life, especially with the new rule set for the assassins. I think that piece very really brings that concept to life. I love it.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Well, you did a good job, you son of a bitch.
Yep.
Well, just speaking of games, I got some new models, actually. So new model-wise, I got a bunch of these Blood Reavers for Age of Sigmar, and it has made my experience so cool because, you know, playing Khorne in Sigmar, we have the Blood Tithes again. And so every time something dies, Khorne cares not from whence the blood flows, and I can get a Blood Tithe point. So I bring 6 units of 10 Blood Reavers to basically just create screens that are made to sacrifice. And the whole idea is to speed bump my opponent to set up my charges so that they're not hitting my prime stuff, and I get to retaliate and hit their prime stuff with things like Scarbrand or Blood Crushers. But the biggest thing that's been rocking my world lately and is the zombie dragons. There's these crazy, and there's several ways with the
they're so cool.
They're so good, man. With the Flesh Eater Court, and you can do Nagash and the legions of Nagash. Like you can intermix with them.
Force the death.
Yeah, I've been going against 2 different versions. One where a guy runs them as Flesh Eater Court and runs like 3 of these puppies, and they just come raring at your face. They're so gross, dude. When they roll 6s to hit, they do 6 mortal wounds on top of the regular damage.
How many attacks do they get?
Well, they get 3 by default, but then he uses a power to give them D3 additional, and then they get to fight twice before you get to fight at all.
Wow. Okay, so they could literally do 12 mortal wounds. A single one could do 12 mortal wounds.
Well, they could have up to 6 attacks fighting twice, and each 6
each attack.
Yes, each 6 they roll to hit creates 6 mortal wounds. The catch is they're forced to hit, so they're often, and then they always are re-rolling to hit.
So a third of your hits are going to be 6s. Yeah.
So and keep in mind, that's just the dragon's teeth and claws and shit. That's just like his maw. He still fights with like a buttload of other attacks that do multiple damage. So this guy
isn't there one with a rider?
Yeah, that gets even worse. One of the versions that my buddy's running with his Nagash has a 3-up. And basically an invulnerable save, a 3-up that can't be affected by any AP, and has a rerollable 1. So 3-up rerolling 1 save, and then it gets against mortal wounds. It gets a 4-up save, and if it can get a 5-up feel no pain on top of a 6-up. Unlike 40k where it doesn't stack things that do the same deal. Against mortal wounds, it can get a 4-up, 5-up, 6-up.
What the fuck?
Yep, it's just absolutely disgusting. So they've been wrecking my world, but look at this image. Me punching it in the face. Over the last several games, I've now killed 4 of these dragons. I've got to wear them on their skulls on my shoulder. I'm learning how to defeat these kind of top meta beasts. There's a lot of expectation that they're going to get hit with an FAQ, but I've been learning how to deal with them, and I've been pretty proud of myself for kind of figuring out ways around it. They're extremely deadly. There's only so many methodologies to it. The sweet thing about having blood ties is that, one, we can summon with our blood ties as Khorne, but additionally, we have a secondary chart that's all kind of action-based. So, like, for instance, for one blood tie, you can create a command point. For 2 blood ties, you can deny any power without any sort of roll, just auto-deny.
That's awesome.
For 3 blood ties, you can charge in their turn, in the beginning of their turn. And that one is extremely powerful. And then for 4 blood ties, you can just fight at the beginning of their turn. So what gets nasty is, like, say they charge your blood crushers, you fall your blood crushers back because you know that they're going to get to fight first and fight twice before you ever get to fight. So you fall back, and then the moment it becomes their turn again, you use your blood ties to charge them in their turn, because your blood crushers do a bunch of mortal wounds on the charge.
On the charge, yeah.
So that's pretty wild. There's another mechanic, because they always fight first at the start of the combat phase, the zombie dragon. You can use one of the bloodthirsters has a command ability to allow all of your units within 16 inches of it to activate and pile in within 6 inches instead of 3 inches. So you stay outside of their activation range of 3 with your extended activation range of up to 6, and you could fall back out of combat and just get out of their activation range and then still be within your activation range at the start of the combat phase. And this is ways to get around them fighting first at the start of the combat. Just little mechanics like this, but mortal wounds for sure. The 3-up rerolling ones is nearly possible. You got to get the charge on them. If they hit you, you're basically just going to get murked. It's been nuts, but been having a lot of good games, and you guys will see that soon. The bat rep I'm about to post, though, where you can see one of the very painful lessons. It's less than an hour long, and it's me conceding by turn 2. Excuse the spoilers here, but it was the Nagash zombie dragon list, and going into turn 2, he double turned me right after grabbing Scarbrand and just deleting him off the board.
Oh no!
He eliminated 1,000 points on turn 1.
Wait, so that was the game that he also did the hand trick and
Yeah.
Scarbrand? Oh, that's so filthy.
Yeah. I've been getting brutalized with the zombie dragons, but I beat them a couple times now. I beat them very, very. I beat him very well on this last match that we had. Unfortunately, not on camera. Where I'm definitely going to start turning on the camera a lot more. I've gotten sick and tired of the not posting things because of lack of paint. I've been happy that a lot of our community members have been painting with an urgency to get their stuff ready for the stream, which is great. But we're definitely going to post versus not post content, whether it's not fully painted or not.
Dude, that's awesome that they have urgency, because like that urgency puts me in like overdrive as far as like knocking stuff out. Like I literally not like trimmed out a whole Helldrake in 3 hours. Like I would normally not paint that fast, but because I have that 2 Lord Discordance to do before the 18th, like
Got that fire under you.
I have to. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a painted model for a GT that requires painted models.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I said Helldrake.
Hell yeah, Helldrake. I'm reading James' comment out there. He said, I thought they changed that issue regarding fighting first and piling. I'm not sure exactly how you're referring to that, because that terminology definitely has been reworked recently in Monk's 40K, maybe a little bit of Sigmar. And so, maybe what you're describing is correct, but not maybe in the way that we're describing it also. Because like, for instance, with the 40K FAQ, they made it so, they made a clarification that if you have a fight twice ability, you can't activate to fight a second time unless you're already within 1 inch of an enemy model. Yeah. But, we talked about on last episode, it was of our general opinion that if you charge that turn, then you still have the ability to activate with a pilot and then fight. They have not yet further clarified that with, say, the 40K FAQ, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But in Age of Sigmar, that thing fights first at the start of the combat phase, and it's gross. Yeah. So James, tell your GT you're going to. Is there any? Are they doing ITC specific rules? Anything?
No, dude. This is crazy, man. They got their own homebrew missions, and
oh damn,
they're very wonky, very randomized, but still submitting to ITC. This is what most people don't know about ITC is like it's a tournament circuit that you don't have to use their missions or rule sets. They just give you guidelines. They provide all that for you. But if you want to do it your own way and then submit points, you can. And that's what they're doing. The very first mission, when anyone, like your opponent goes to use a stratagem on a 5-up, it is ignored. So everyone just gets vect. And it can be used as many times as you want because it's every time your opponent gets to use a stratagem.
Oh,
That's
wow.
the mission, bro.
Damn.
So
Every mission's like that, or that's one of the missions?
No, that's just one mission.
Okay.
Another one of the missions is when you're on objectives, the way you score points is you roll a d6. If it's the number that is the objective you're on, you score that objective. If not, you do not score it.
That's fun.
So you got to camp out on objectives and try to score them.
Or don't camp out and table your opponent.
Yeah. I mean, really, the only objectives you really want in that situation, I guess, are the high, like maybe 5 and 6.
Yeah. So it's just really like it's real crazy, man. It's real crazy.
You know what, James? This is a little bit side curveball from what you're talking about, but you just reminded me of one of the most asked questions at the doubles tournament. When I was judging, I had to address this concept, I think 5 times from multiple different players. And it's all about when things have the mechanic to make something fight last. Right?
Yeah.
There's several of these abilities in the game. Like there's the Armor of Rust by the Space Wolves. I think there's several different instances. I forgot the one that I read differently than all the rest. I feel like it might have been from the Custodes.
So what's the question, bro?
It was just people kept asking, like, does this mean that I can't override, for instance? Like most of the time was like, can I override still if they shut me down with this ability?
Yeah.
It was kind of like different. It kept coming up from different factions that had the ability, and then kind of a little bit of different ways each time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like with not knowing anything, I would first like say, show me the rules, like so I can see the exact wording. Like that's the first place you go. But without seeing that, just from logic, it says fight last. I'd be like, so this guy can override, but this guy has to fight last.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's got to fight last. It says fight last.
Well, sometimes it doesn't say it so clearly. I know that maybe it was even an assassin. One of somebody's rule I read differently than all the rest and saying that, yes, you fight last. Others say like some they have some additional jargon of something like, if you already had this ability to be fighting first right now, like say if you're a charging model, then now you act as if you're at regular initiative. And like they come up with that caveat. And in that instance, then like it becomes okay to do an override. Well, some of it does say this model fights last, period.
Yeah, that's where I'd say like you show me the rule because I'm normally going to tell you exactly how the rule works because there are lots of things that are very similar but have a clear wording difference that means it can do something else. Like for instance, like you can reroll all failed hits or you can reroll all hits. Like one word changes the meaning of that sentence, and that's modifiers. Crazy. So when it comes to these type of mechanics, it's like, okay, let me see the rules. Like if the rules say that you have to fight last, period, bar none, like then you have to fight last. Now, if someone else has the same mechanic, a person who has charged, it's their turn, they get to pick who goes first.
Yeah. Taldark was mentioning that he wished GW would come out with a single liner of cannot rules that override can abilities. It reminded me of back in 7th edition and the transition to 8th, where part of their promotional stance when they transitioned to 8th was that they're getting rid of universal special rules, the old USRs. It used to be that there's this long list of rules that you could remember what they meant, and that was applicable to all these different units.
Dude, I honestly meant that.
Yeah, and they did away. That was part of their like nobody's the same, and so like everybody has a different explode result now with different ranges and results that you're rolling. And everybody, like every super heavy profile, there's no like universal super heavy rule. Like some of them can shoot outside of combat, but they can't fall back and charge. Some can fall back and charge. You know, all that craziness.
Yep, all of that.
Yeah. So sometimes I do miss universal special rules as well, but I also appreciate that it allows them more flexibility to make things unique or new, you know, but it gets a little laborious.
Especially as the game grows and as they add more.
Yeah.
Dude, Bobby asked for competitive Necron opinions because, like, I think Necrons are going to be awesome competitively because of the fact of they have quantum shielding on so many vehicles that are fairly cheap, that are very fast, that all have fly. Then they also have a decent troop choice that can come back alive. So if you take them in larger blobs, like, you have a chance of sticking around and playing their rule a little bit better. Immortals, like with Tesla is just the nastiest thing. When you take the Dynasty that gives you -1 within 12 inches, like that is just so gross. You can take out any like large unit screen with ease. And when you have like Veil of Darkness where you can pop into the place where you need to take it out, you can do that. And then with the FAQ, you can now leave the board and still have Thy Will Be Done. So now you are just popping on 4s, use the stratagem. You're popping on 5s, use the stratagem. So you're popping on 4s. Like you literally can mow down any unit with that -1 So I think Necrons are good. I think they've always been in a situation where they were just missing something, and I think what they were missing is everyone needed to be pushed down to where they were, and Chapter Approved helped them be pushed up.
Yeah, or was it Chapter Approved? Was it FAQ?
Well, Chapter Approved lowered all their points, and then the FAQ, like they got most of the buffs. Like the only thing they got touched was the rates, and that's just they can't charge through buildings, but they still can now charge over models. So like that's it. Everything else like is better. Like they clarified the quantum shielding if you use a stratagem where it's +1 of the quantum shielding. So now you can save 1 damages with a roll of a 1. Like you can completely ignore damage. So yeah. Like
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean with the Ghost Arcs being able to put out as much like D6 damage at such a long range, and then if you take them in the detachment or the reroll 1s if they don't move, you just can keep them in the back and like screen with them because they have the fly keyword with quantum shielding. So anything that can really pop them, you're getting an extra chance to save the damage, and anything that's gonna like actually ignore quantum shielding has to work really hard to get rid of it.
Totally.
So it becomes in the situation where only D3 damage survives, and if you're investing your D3 damage into that, you're not investing into like the key units that are moving up the board, like the rates that D3 damage would wreck. But they're also the ones that still have access to a 2+ invul. Like everything else got nerfed for the 2-up invul, but the race have a stratagem where they're within 3 inches of an objective marker, or they don't move. They can do +1 of their saving throw. They already have a 3-up invul.
Wow.
So it's like, dude, and like their toughness 5 model, I believe, with 3 wounds.
That's a pretty crazy. What is it? Engineer for the new ITC. Have like a really cheap, like small, like very small unit of Wraiths. They're fast. They can move through shit, and then they got a 2-up save.
Dude, I'm just saying they have a lot of good tools, and it takes a good general to put them together. But they have a tool now for almost everything in the meta.
Yeah, respect.
Yeah,
Man,
they hate mortal wounds though. They really hate mortal wounds. They don't have anything to really stop that because they don't have access to feel no pains. Like that's where they really get hurt.
Yeah, Bobby Hall mentioned Lynchguard. It gave me flashbacks to 7th edition, man. Lynchguard Death Star, man, that was a pain in the ass. That was back when my Space Wolves actually were good with their Thunderwolf calves.
So Lynchguard, my opinion on them in 8th is they are too expensive if you're going against a seasoned player because they're going to kite them out of the way, or you're going to Veil of Darkness and you're going to be trapped somewhere. So like you can get kited one way or another. You might get one chance with them, but then you're kited, or they're just going to nuke you and put everything into you so you don't get reanimation, and that's it. Like, they're just too expensive. Like, they're not worth it. Now, if you go against someone who doesn't know Lynchguard very well, underestimates them because they like look at their stats and like, they're bullshit, and you pop shots at them when they're next to a Cryptek, like, they can definitely just start wrecking people because of reanimation and being so expensive and like holding things down. But any good player is just going to know how to deal with it. So like, they're way too expensive for being so vulnerable, I should say. The triple flyer list, it's a trick. It worked early on in 8th, like when you can just go and nuke something with when they're all three there, but you pop one of them and they're nothing again. And then with flyers being nerfed with their being able to move through their base, you can't even screen with them anymore. So
one thing is about Necron flyers to be said is that I always thought when I saw them in use that was a fun thing about Necrons, because like the way their flyers work with like dropping stuff in and like kind of beaming them up. I always thought it was kind of cool how they could like disembark and re-embark from like kind of a distance, and kind of neat. They're different than the rest, so it's fun.
I agree. There is an aspect to it,
The
and then
flavor.
like if you're playing with a lot of small immortal units, you can have a lot of fun with it, but it's not competitive, I would say.
Yeah, no, I mean that often is a situation. But it's cool that Helldrakes, at least Helldrakes get to actually hit the field in a competitive way now again. That's fun.
And maybe Defilers.
Yeah. Apparently they're back. Apparently, I wish the Soul Grinders were. They're so much cooler than Defilers.
Dude, Soul Grinder, it was one of my favorite units in 7th. Just the way they operated and the way they looked. It was just like an overall cool unit. But they lack the fact that they're not Chaos Space Marines and they're not good enough to just be demons. So it's like they're hurting right now because Defilers are better than them. Yeah. And Defilers are only good because of distraction card effects. They're literally just the fact that you cannot ignore them. You have to deal with them. And because you have to deal with them, they earn their points in like target priority.
Yeah.
That's really it. I mean, you can't expect them to kill stuff. You have to expect them to be shot off the board. And now you have something that's in someone's face. Like, you've allowed it to deliver and be a distraction. And if they don't distract your opponent and they go after something, then they've actually earned their points because now they can wreck. Because they're heavy weapons and they have the penalty because they're not like getting Legion trades or Death Guard or anything. So you can't like really move them and shoot them because they only hit on 4-ups. So now they're hitting on 5-ups. So you don't want to move them up the board. And you really have to wait for the opponent to charge you if you actually want to use them in combat. So it's this really strange unit. Lord Discordants help because now you're hitting on 3s instead of 4s. Also, the Master of Possession, give them Cursed Earth, using the Lord Discordant to take a wound and then heal them 3 wounds. Like, there's ways to use them where they're almost like a counter charge distraction Carnifex that is actually a dick to get rid of, especially if you're rocking 3 of them. But I mean, who's got 3 of those laying around unless you've been in the hobby for 15 years?
I got 2. Yeah, I still got my Soul Grinders waiting to come to life. One of these days they'll be popped out.
Dude, I'm excited. I got 2 of those, and like I always wanted a 3rd one. Yeah. I was really hoping to run the unit, the formation where you had like 8 of them.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that would have been really cool with just the Scorpion. But I never got around to doing it because of 8th, and they just suck so bad. My very first games, I still put them in my list because I was that in love with that model. Yeah. And I was like, no, this is so bad. Chapter Proof comes out, I relook at it, and I'm like, no, you don't get any rules. All this new Visual Displays comes out, no, you still don't get any of these rules.
Man. Well, we got the Soul Forge. Oh, does that not affect? They don't have Heretic Astartes, so they don't
have. Yeah, exactly. It's so bad.
Well, one of these days. And at least APOC's coming, so I'll just throw whatever I can on the table. So, oh man, but yeah, we're about to wrap up towards this hour mark.
Dude,
here.
We didn't even talk about Slanesh, bro.
I know there's so much to cover, and I was like, I thought we might as well cover.
Can we just talk about the one model that no one's talking about?
Yeah, let's talk about that model.
It's like 195 points, 196 points. Don't remember exactly. but nothing in 40K has got rules like this fucking model. And if you are a Slaanesh player, you may want to consider this thing in your list.
The Mortal Wound Sponge.
Dude, not only a Mortal Wound Sponge, but it gives you your +1 strength aura on a bigger base. So now you're buffing up all your Slaanesh demons with the extra strength. But if you're taking it pure Slaanesh demon detachment, you get the loci of advance and charge. So now all your Hellforged demons, like Mauler Fiends in particular, or even Helldrakes, just saying, Helldrakes can advance and charge. Just some wild stuff. And they allow you to keep things in combat. They have I think it's 3-inch bubble, maybe a 6-inch bubble of 3d6 to your leadership. If you fail it, you're trapped in combat. So if you're
Starbrand's ability, I mean, that's a 400-point ability usually.
Dude, and this is a 195-point model that if you're targeted by mortal wounds, any mortal wound, doesn't matter if it's perils, it doesn't matter if it's sniper fire, it doesn't matter if it's explosions, 2-up save. 2-up save. So mortal wounds.
Pretty great.
Never been seen before. And the fact that this has it, and then it still puts out 10 attacks that do a minimum of flat 2 damage, but 2 of them do flat 3 damage.
Gross.
Dude, and this thing moves 12 inches, but it can advance and charge. So this thing can just scream up the board with all the other things that are screaming up the board. And then once everything gets there, it can tie it up. What?
Yeah, lovely.
Dude, and then it's a Slaanesh demon. So you know what Slaanesh demons get base being Slaanesh demons? They get to fight first.
Yep.
So now that you've tied them up and they didn't get to charge because they have other units that they're probably charging, you now get to hit them first with all this dude's attacks. I like this way more than that Demon Prince Herald model. This one's way more attractive to me.
I want all the Slaanesh. Partly just for my collector's side because I basically committed to pure chaos at this point.
Dude, I'm sorry if I'm getting too hype on that model.
No, that thing's out of control. That is out of control. But I think a lot of things in that book are, especially with how they stack together. And I think there's a lot of combos to be hype about with the new chaos that we have even before Slaanesh hit. So it's exciting times. So with I mean, there's a new Sylvaneth coming, Warcry's dropping, Elites is coming out. There's a lot coming out from Games Workshop, and I think we're in some of the coolest release schedules that we've ever been in.
Dude,
yeah.
Stuff's getting wild, bro.
Getting wild and crazy.
Definitely.
I'm just hoping Korn one day gets that love. I want that love.
They're fantastic in Sigmar.
I might get converted if it keeps going down the shitter in 40K. I want the Korn to be so heavy.
You would have so much fun with the combat system in Sigmar. It is like your game. The screen mechanics and the little micro movements and everything is insane in Sigmar.
Yeah, give me all that.
You would love it. You would love it to death.
Sigmar Army, is that what's happening right now?
Dude, my Korn.
Oh, dude, I have half of it already, man.
You would be in love. But yeah, y'all, it's about that time to close it out. It's been awesome. We got 13 people hanging out with us right now. We got some of the usual suspects and some new repeats. It's good to have everybody. Bobby Halls, Michael, always good. Van Duske, Mike, call ya. Everybody, it's been sweet.
Dude,
yeah.
I know you want to close this out, but we forgot one thing to talk about, bro.
Yeah.
Another one thing. I'm sorry, bro.
I might have been on the same topic. What are you thinking?
But exactly a week ago, we launched our Patreon.
Yeah.
And we got some things ironed out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, even though we don't like throwing paywalls at people, blah, 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 we give you everything for free anyways. But if you like the fact that we give you stuff for free and you're thinking about dropping a bunch of money on a new army and want to pick our brain, this is one way to do it, and we're not going to charge you a shit ton a month. We'll literally just say, hey, join our Discord, join our Facebook group, reach out to us. We'll help you with everything. So check out our Patreon.
Yeah.
Thing. George, you want to say more? Because you can say more than I.
I'm gonna say more. I posted a link, and just to talk about some of the shenanigans of what went down this past week. Like we had this whole system created on a giveaway concept, where basically we're partnered with Battlegrounds, my local game store. That's where we host our content from. I'm in there pretty much 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, like crazy, trying to build our community and get a bunch of games online. And kind of the give back that they give to me for what I do for the store and the community, I'm just putting that, fronting it right back into our channel and our audience, hoping to be able to have that be exponentially bigger than where it began. And we try to do that in a giveaway type way, but apparently a lottery system, when you're talking about a global laws there, it's overall that Patreon doesn't like to risk any sort of legalities with doing any sort of gambling or lottery type systems. And so our entire methodology we came up with turned out to not be allowed. And we kind of had a panic moment over the last couple of days of like, how do we reorganize this and make this in a way that's, if not, is at least as good, if not better, as far as we really want to honor and, show how proud we are to be able to give, to have this system in place. We didn't ever want to be beggars on the streets. We wanted to be able to have a mutual beneficial platform for people to want to build upon with us. And we came up with an awesome structure, man. What do you got, James? I'm so excited to tell about the new structure.
I know, but because you just said you don't want beggars in the streets, I told a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine that doesn't know a whole lot about 40K, but just the fact that we're doing Patreon, and like it was right after we launched it, and I was like, man, I didn't know how to feel about this, but George is saying this is the way we need to go, and then we did it, and we had so much support right away that I told him like our platform, and he was like, dude, you're not a beggar on the street, dude. You're like someone who's doing tricks and has a skill that like is providing it where people feel obligated to pay them because like they enjoyed the show. And I was like, dude, I want to put my hat out now.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for that perspective, and being an artist for a long time and thinking in those mind state, it's not something I'm unfamiliar with. But the exciting thing of how we came up with remixing this concept is now, instead of randomly picking someone that would get a giveaway of this amount of kind of a shopping spree that we would have at Battlegrounds, now we're going to guarantee that every person that is a Patreon member gets this reward, this payout to get to where we get to give back kind of from the community giving to us. And so it's awesome that we have the $5, $10 tier, and we give away $50 to a $5 tier member, $10 or $100 to a $10 tier member, and we give that away once a month, going down the list sequentially from the start date where people signed up. And what's super cool is that if you stick around with us and continue to be a patron, then when it cycles back to your name again through all of our patrons, which eventually will come back to you once more, then we'll give you $25 additional each time for the second and third time. So if you're a $5 tier member, you'll get $50 on the first time we select your name. You're going to get $75 on the second and $100 on the third. And if you're a $10 member, you get $100, then $125, and then $150. And that just cycles back around once again from there. I think that's dope. So like, for instance, people that just were our earliest adopters that just jumped on now, and like if you like one Taudark as our first subscriber, he's going to get hit with huge benefits right away, where he put down like, $20 and he's going to get like a $200 shopping spree kind of thing, which is awesome. And as it hits each person, you guys are going to get to have the benefits of getting to pick whatever you like from Battlegrounds and really feel the love coming back from Warp Charge. So super pumped about that. We got some dice out in the mail right now to some of our homies out there that are the early adopters. We still got some $10 slots left. The first people that jump on the $10 subscription, we're sending some dice to. Everybody at the $20 tier is getting a set of dice, and thank you so much. But at any amount, even if it's just $1, thank you. We're coming up with the Gilliman giveaway. We're gonna offer that to everybody out there worldwide, just kind of for free, because we can't do any sort of paid for lottery system. It has to be completely free, no purchase required. So we're gonna do that as a thank you. And as our Patreon grows, we're gonna continue to give giveaways to the audience as a whole. But yeah, thanks for listening to all that. I'm really, really excited about it. It took a lot of stress and effort and being scared to figure out how to flip all that on its head. But I cannot believe that we can give everybody a guaranteed awesome shopping spree Battlegrounds just for supporting Warp Charge. I think it's dope as hell.
Hey, now
Damn
you can
right.
say bye, bro. You can say bye now.
Yeah, it's time to say bye. But everybody, thanks for listening, man. Hell yeah. You guys keep taking fun seriously. We'll catch you here next time.
Adios.